Hello everyone, welcome back to the KMTRADERS channel. So this is the full market analysis volume 101, just giving you an insight of what we've got up ahead for next week, coming into Christmas time, and also just reviewing our last week's analysis also. So there has actually been quite a lot that's been happening this week. Personally, I've taken my ball off the, or taken an eye off the game sort of a little bit, just as it eases into Christmas. But there was a few interesting moves that I've seen from last week. So it'll be interesting to see what we can potentially end of the year with throughout this week and obviously the next 2 weeks after that. So yeah, we'll start off with gold. So initially, we were looking for the 1760 barrier to find some sort of reaction from this. So initially, what we said was if price was able to hold this level, we should be able to see some sort of push, some sort of move towards the upside in the anticipation that price is going to take out this high. Now, because price has technically wicked in and pushed lower than this barrier here, and even though we've had this reaction here, this is a potential warning sign that this is now going to continue to push lower. So in theory, this is just now, this leg here is now the essentially the pullback. So essentially this part here. So we just need to find now just an area where this is now likely going to reverse towards the downside. And then I think this is now going to head towards the downside. So we could be looking to target now 1720 as our next zone to anticipate a move to. So I'm probably going to now move this towards the upside. So probably look at 1880 as a barrier. Move this across. We can get rid of this. We can move this. Well, we can leave this in for our next zone as a target to the downside. But now essentially, let's just get rid of these drawings. But what we're looking at now is, as we see price moving up, we could probably expect just a bit more of a continuation, because I'm not going to be oblivious to the fact that this is obviously a bullish price action. So we may get a strong pullback or a very little pullback, but I'm thinking maybe that there might be just more of a continuation higher here, and then we could expect price to then fall and rally to the downside. So that's the initial kind of outlook here. So this would be your long-term kind of move for now. So again, looking for sells. You could also look and anticipate early on in the week is some buying potential opportunities in the hopes that this can continue to push higher. There may be a few pips that could be squeezed in, but again, one thing just to mention that these drawings are not drawn to scale, so I don't expect price to immediately turn around at 1840. Again, this is just a rough guideline of what to expect with price action along the way. And if this holds, and if we do get a turnaround, especially if we break the 1760 low again, we could head into 1720 and even lower, which is now we're looking into 1680. So we've got some barriers that we could take out, and I think I was kind of when we did draw that break here, the scenario where price would break this low and then retest and continue lower before all of this happened. So roughly around November time, end of November, if you check those gold videos out, I think I did mention something about this price action here. So I was being aware of that, and obviously as we can see, price never really gave us this bullish momentum to potentially buy. So it's not a complete problem at all. Like, as you can see, we've completely missed out on this trade, but now we're just waiting for a continuation lower. And again, this is where the retest trade method kind of works in our favor, because we never really looked at a bullish situation because there was no reason to. But now that we can see that there is an intent to the upside, this could be a partial move towards the upside because we've broken this low. So just to give you a bit of thoughts behind that, why we've immediately changed. But yeah, so they're just my thoughts so far. And yeah, so let's move on to now Euro USD. So with this pair, we can see that price is completely sold off. You know, we've been in a range market for quite a bit of time. Again, what we can see here is a mixture of different things. I think this is actually looks quite confusing looking back at this from now. But essentially what I was thinking was just a range bound market. I think we were talking about that if price was able to reach the upside, there could be a sell-off. So as you can see here, there was a nice sell-off opportunity there. So what we are looking at now is to see if price can push up to the upside as one potential. So I'm probably going to mark this out in different ways. So let's just move this across. So firstly, I think a scenario that we could look at first is if this low holds, we could look at a buying opportunity towards the upside, and in hopes that price breaks this barrier, so 1.14. In that case, if that does happen, or we miss out, then we can always get in on a retest. So this is scenario 2. And then the third scenario is if price is to break this low, the 1.12, we would wait for a retest and the continuation is lower. So that's pretty much my kind of outline so far. But personally, I'm hoping that price can rally towards the upside. I think it could, because you know we have been really pushing lower for so long. I think if price can give a sense of pullback, it is due for one, so it may want to start to push up higher. But if price does continue to push lower, then maybe it needs to have one more exhaustion before price again switches over. But I'm not going to discuss that in detail now because we've not broken 1.12. So I'm quite to see price and see what it does over the next few days. Ideally, I want to see price push up higher, but again, we can only react off of the price action and not really predict it. So again, they're my kind of options so far. So looking into Nzd Usd, so as you can see, price has essentially broken that low and continued to push on. Now if we were to look at how price is essentially going so far, essentially what we was anticipating is price to potentially switch over, and as you can see here, it kind of looks like there is some sort of bullish momentum kicking in. So what I'm going to be looking at for the next week is probably just moving this down to 0.67 as a new kind of test of the low. So essentially, if we do get a break lower than this, we could start to look at more continuations lower. However, if we start to get a reaction from this low, we could anticipate price to move a lot higher and continue to push in higher. So again, we are quite close to this area, so it'll be the result of this of the two scenarios will come very quickly through the week. So it's definitely on my watch list. We could be looking at 0.69 as a target, or this downtrend again that we're keeping an eye out. So it could go all the way up to here, so I might as well just leave that there. But yeah, we're essentially looking to see if it can target that, but obviously it doesn't have to. Even 0.69 could be a level that we can look at. So moving on to Aud Usd, we can see price how it's stepping up. Again, what we was looking at for this week was price to see if it was going to rally and turn over towards the upside, and obviously it kind of did. I was personally expecting more of a deeper pullback, but nonetheless, price has definitely shown that price's willingness to do so. So the opportunity here is that we may get more of a continuation higher, or the anticipation is that price may push lower and basically break the low of 0.7. If so, we can then look at this scenario where we get a retest if we do miss out this sell. So just keeping these three scenarios in mind. Again, we can, for getting on the sell, what you would ideally look for is basically a price to pull back. So within this range here that we have, and yeah, so this would be along the way in order for price to anticipate price to come into 0.7. So they're the three kind of outlooks. I'm kind of keen to see if this bearish pressure can hold. To me, it looks like there is a possibility of more downside opportunity, but this could actually be this where this low holds and it could reverse higher. So I've got there's four scenarios here, but something that, again, that I've probably just kept this is what I'm keeping an eye out. So we could look at sells as price comes down into these areas, and then if we start to see some sort of rejection around the 0.75, 0.705 level, in which price could potentially reverse, or looks like it could reverse, then we could end up pushing up higher. But if it doesn't, then we could expect 0.7 to break and then look at a retest. And obviously these are all bearish scenarios, but if this is a bullish scenario, we should expect a reversal and a continuation higher. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of my outlook for AUD. Taking a look at USD Jpy, so this one has just been quite complex. Judging over the last few days with price action, essentially it's been not necessarily been really good to trade, if that's a word, but essentially what we kind of are looking for is this anticipation where price is pushing more towards the upside. So again, we've got this outline here, this drawing here of where price is potentially looking to pull back for it to then momentarily continue to push higher. So I think I'm quite happy with this annotation right now. I think the prospect of it is that we could essentially, I think we could essentially push lower from this effectively. So whether the price wants to push up from this and then reverse over, or if this here is now the the respected the lower high, and if that's the case, then we could expect price to continue to push on lower, and that is probably where we could look at a pullback to some degree and get in on that entry. Again, this scenario here is if we miss the sell, and you can look at a retest and continuation. Again, this is just another phase to look at in case price does want to make a reversal and then sell one more time. And then this one here is if price breaks above 115, we would look at a continuation higher. So they're basically the imprints, but I'm pretty much looking for those continuation sells if I was to pick, because of the strength into that downside. I'm not looking to avoid this. Quite keen to see if this can hold. Excuse me. I think that could be a very key point in the market. But yeah, let's just see what can unfold. There's multiple ways that this could relay over, especially UJ being quite complex within its pullbacks, I've noticed. But nonetheless, it is a good opportunity to kind of keep in mind for. So looking at CAD JPY. So what we anticipated from last week was essentially price pulling back, and we were then looking for the continuation higher. So there is a possibility that this can obviously fall through, so don't obviously think that you should be looking for all the buys and holding it all the way to here. You want to wait for that anticipation or the intention for price to show you that it's looking to shift. So as we can see here, that price has stepped in with some bullish intention. Now we've seen a very strong kind of retracement already, so this could potentially take this low here and then it could rally or towards the upside, or that this could hold and it could continue higher. So just keep those two things in perspective. We're looking for price to maybe target the downtrend here, but we could also expect price to break and hit 91 or 90.5. But yeah, we're looking for potential bulls as long as we stay above 88. Okay, so the other part is that if price does break lower, again, just simply looking at a retest, and we would have to wait for a pullback on once price exhausts itself to the downside. So that obviously that can take time. But yeah, they're the kind of outlooks for CAD. EJ, wow, this is actually looking quite strong in terms of its sell-off, but the intention here is for potentially price to hold onto this level and, you know, reverse, but we can see that there is a possibility that yes, price can probably make its way to the downside. So this does look very strong here, so I'm not going to be oblivious to the fact that yes, price action will most likely take out this low, but again, judging from the long-term kind of time frame perspective, this could rally towards the upside. So I'm not really too phased if we do get a reversal here to the upside, or if we get a break lower, because we can still get involved with this. So again, if it's a break lower, it's a retest trade and a continuation lower, or if we get a reversal, it's simply just a push higher and this reversing up like so. But yeah, I think this is most likely going to break lower, but again, this is just a guess. We can always just have to react towards price action closer to the day. Okay. So yeah, moving on now to Aud Jpy. So for this, essentially we need to see what is most likely going to happen with this pair. I think ultimately, you know, there are two things that can happen here, but I was anticipating price to break higher and push higher. As we can see here, there was a kind of a nice step up in price, but you know what I am looking at, I'm just going to give you some scenarios right now. So one thing that we could look at is, you know, a complex pullback, which is price making a dip and pushing up lower, or we get price to continue, well, we'll get a step down, break lower, and like a little retest. So these two kind of options here, they are basically valid. I believe I changed my long-term bias of this pair this week, I believe, after we've seen this push up. Just kind of like looking at over things, I think that most likely price is going to show a willingness to turn over to the downside. So after we get up here, it would look like, you know, we're most likely going to push lower and break lower into 78. So again, that's my kind of intentions with this pair, is to essentially see price break lower in terms of the long-term bias, but obviously with current price action, it looks like it's stepping up. So this is why I have this option here. But if this doesn't want to step up from here, you know, we can look at a continuation of sells and anticipate price to go into 78. Okay. So now moving on to USD Chef. So this has been extremely, excuse me, let me take some water. This has been extremely complicated. Oh, excuse me, I've not had breakfast at all today. A little late start to the day. But yeah, so USD Chef. So yeah, so my thoughts for this pair, essentially is I think it's pretty much still kind of a similar kind of outlook, but I think what we were expecting was essentially price to make its way to the upside, which it's pretty much shown here. the intention for this is now to, if we move this up, move this down like so. So we've made the potential high. Now we can see price stepping potentially lower with this price action right now. Also being aware of that strong push up, but we essentially could look at price pushing lower before rallying towards the upside. So I probably will. I'll probably keep this in, because in case price doesn't want to break lower. But if price does hold from this level, there is a possibility that price could break up higher, retest, and continue pushing up. And I think this is the main kind of intention that I'm looking at on the long-term kind of higher time frames, is that we could be pushing up higher. But if price does start to break lower than this, I'm going to be keen and aware that we could be pushing lower. So that's at 0.91. Okay. So yeah, intentionally I'm looking for sells before potentially looking at some buying opportunities. Okay, for the long term. So finally, looking at USD Cad. So for this, this has been quite tricky. So I kind of reframed everything again. So I'm looking at now 1.295. Let me go ahead and get rid of these drawings. So long story short, we're trying to see what this what this intention is here, because what I'm seeing here is a lot of strength coming into play, and I was personally looking at some sell-off opportunities within the market as a counter trend, as we've missed the bullish intention, but as we can see, price has just been consistently stepping. So I'm very keen to see if price is able to make a turnaround at this point here. This is what I'm looking at now. And the reason why I'm looking at a turnover rather than looking at continuations is because once we get the sell-off here, because of exactly how price has just been consistently stepping up, it's only fair that price is eventually going to make a pullback. And when it makes the pullback, and when it finishes, that's when we can look at continuing on to the next trend. Okay, so this is why I'm thinking that if we take be a part of the sells or a counter trend, we can potentially sell it down all the way into the next pullback before we end up pushing higher. So that's kind of what I've got. Well, that's what I'm kind of looking for right now. So thinking about moving on for next week, I think obviously coming into Christmas time, I believe, I don't even know when Christmas is. Hold on, let me just double check. If we look at the holidays, etc. So it's actually Christmas, and Christmas Eve it falls on Friday. So you could still squeeze in some trading time if you really do want to. Again, with myself, I'm just kind of taking a step back, but just consistently monitoring the charts now and again. If I do get into a trade, it may be just out of the possibility that I'm just checking the charts, sort of thing, or I see a good opportunity that we spoke about today on the analysis video. But yeah, Christmas is coming up, so yeah, definitely enjoy yourselves, take some time off, do your thing. Obviously, back test, like how I use this time for back testing, and particularly in December, just to reframe my ideas, my goals, and set my intentions for next year and the next period. So I highly advise you to do the same thing, not just in trading, but all around yourself in just all the aspects of your life. So yeah, I really do hope that you start to set some good goals and some good things, and set yourself up for the next year, for 2022. So again, guys, that will be all for this week's video. Again, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, I do appreciate your time for listening. If you did get any value from this, leave a like, make sure you're subscribed, and that would be all. So thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all in next week's video.